How are we doing, guys? We are back for another season, starting off the 2024 year with the Strictly Football uh, podcast. Today we are missing our one of our own, who maybe absent for a little bit, but he sure will make his long awaited return down the weeks. And well, it just feels good to be back, guys. We're trying out new things. We did take a long hiatus, but you know what? I think just by looking at us now, I feel like we feel refreshed. We feel ready to start things off again, and see how things flow this year. I think we did talk offline. We talked whether what we could do, what we could change, and I think today is our first run at a new format for our product, and I hope that you guys like it. And without further ado, introduce the members that are here today. So, Ariel, how you doing, man?
I'm pretty good. I'm a little under the weather, I guess you would say. I feel like I'm like at a maybe 70%. I feel good, but I could feel myself like about to get sick. It's raining over here in the Bay Area, so we're based out of the Bay. In San like at least me, I'm in San Francisco, and like this has been raining hella much, and I decided to get some new boots. Some Croc boots,
Eee.
really loud, yellow boots, and they look cool, but they've been letting water get into my foot, like so my shit has been getting hella wet and what? And yeah, so I feel like I'm getting a little sick. I'm a little congested. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but that's where I'm at right now. But overall, pretty good. No team of the year, by the way, in my FIFA. So only the goalie. So that's another thing, soccer related.
Sheesh, man.
Mm.
Cool. Down. How you doing, Irving? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. I feel refreshed. I feel ready to get this thing going and talk about football. I feel like over the break there's been stuff going on that I was like, oh, you want to talk about, but there's still a lot going on right now, and yeah, I feel good. I'm chilling. That's good.
That's good, man. And I feel like that's the beauty of the sport that we love and what we do. And I think this is one of the like offline like through this whole time like we still stayed in touch, and every week there was something to talk about. There was a headline that we missed, or there was something that we were just waiting to get our hands on. So that's the good part about it. And I feel like when we talked about coming back, it just kind of was like, yeah, man, we're always gonna have something to talk about. So that's the good thing about that. And well, let's get going with our podcast. So just to give you guys a rundown of how we are gonna do things. Starting with this episode, to begin with, we are keeping our Tarjeta Roja segment. I think that's one of our segments that I think we enjoy the most, and we enjoy starting off with that. In terms of the headlines, we will talk about coaches. We'll talk about Xavi. We'll talk about Jurgen Klopp, and we'll see, how we end up in that conversation. We do have a question of the day, as curated by Irving. And after that, we will have a debate, which is our new format that we are implementing this season. And we'll fine it off with our quiniela. And that'll be the wrap for this week's podcast. So, on to headline well, actually, before the headline, sorry, the Tarjeta Roja segment of the week. Um,
Sorry, my
I,
dog is just like having a field day back here. I just gotta be just up front. If you hear some weird noises in the back, some licking and some stuff, just know that it's my dog. Okay,
it's not Ariel.
it's not me. It's not me. I'm not licking myself, and I'm not doing some other shit that this dog does. Bless his soul.
Even though we've known to be a very exotic crew when we come play pro clubs, so don't think wrong of us. It's
Yeah,
just
there's a
it's
lot
just
of
our Nate.
eroticism that happens when
Yeah,
we play pro clubs. I don't know what happens, but there's something that just clicks about. the eroticism here.
It's just our nature.
Yeah.
But anyways, all right. Tarjeta roja for this week. I'll open the floor for either one of you guys to start off and give me what you guys think. Who deserves a tarjeta roja? So have at it.
All right, I could go first. Uh, Person that comes to mind is Anthony. Um, my boy, my boy finally scored, and he played against I want to say, what is it, a third division team, or what was it, or a
Hmm.
fourth division team? A team that was not it's not in the Premier League. I want to say they're not in the second division, but they essentially, like, they just like whooped their ass. But Anthony scored, and his celebration has been been going around a little bit, and become a little bit of a meme. Just because he acted like he just scored against like he just won the World Cup, and so I don't know. I got to give it to him. There's a level of like delusion that happens there. I mean, on one end, I'm happy for him because he scored, but then on the other end, I'm like, yeah, let's keep it in perspective. Let's keep it moving. Let's do a simple celebration. And there's a lot of celebration red cards that could happen too. Mape did another one too, where him and James Madison got into it. So celebrations, I think can just get a red card. I thought hit that roja of the week for me.
Yeah, man, don't just can't let the man have his fun, man.
I know, I
Can't
know.
let the man enjoy his
I
first
mean, he was about to
goal.
like start like a Bible circle, like to the goal. Like he's like, man, brothers and sisters, I scored a goal.
Oh man. All right. Irving, what's your tarjeta roja this week, man?
I kind of have two, but I'm gonna just go with I guess a more broad, like a more well-known one, probably that maybe some people agree with. But my tarjeta roja is going to Inter Miami this week. I feel like they just started. So they started the preseason. I want to say a week and a half ago, and they started against La Selecta El Salvador. And surprisingly, La Selecta came out with the tie. And I think ever since then, Inter Miami has just not been playing well. They played FC Dallas, they lost. They played Al Hilal, Neymar's team, they lost. They played Al Nassr, which is Ronaldo's team, which they lost 6-0 to just recently today. And I feel like for a team that is very hyped around some 38-year-olds with Luis Suarez, Busquets, Jordi Alba, and of course Messi, they're just not performing. Again, it is a preseason, and during the season anything can happen. But to me, this defeat against Al Nassr is just, I think, embarrassing in my opinion, especially for the MLS, because you know I think it was a very like huge topic when Messi joined Inter Miami, comparing the Saudi league and the MLS, because Ronaldo was in the Saudi league, and debating which is the retirement home basically. And I don't know if this says anything, but I definitely think that it paints a bad picture for the MLS, in my opinion. And Ronaldo didn't play, so that's one thing. And Messi came in as a sub in like the 80th minute when they were 6-0 down. So that's my tarjeta.
Oh man, talk about a cash grab, dude. Like all all these games that Inter Miami has played, like it's more about making money than actually seeing its actual players. But it does give a bad image to the if the MLS is trying to compete. But then again, you do have 38 year olds out there, just feeling young.
Feeling young, feeling young, feeling like they still got it.
It's like
They still...
you know how many pain injections have traveled across the world just for Luis Suarez to continue to play.
He says he's not on that anymore, by the way, but I don't believe him. I
Back
don't believe him. I don't believe him, dog. He's looking a little slow out there.
uh, but rightful deserving tarjeta roja. And for me, for my tarjeta roja, in staying in the Manchester United pool of players, I'm gonna give it to Marcus Rashford. Not because he did anything wrong. He probably did something I would have done too. But but this man went out night clubbing on Sunday, and he was seen out to like very late in the day, or very late in the night into the next day. And on Monday, instead of actually reporting for practice like you normally do, he called out sick. So I don't blame. I probably would have done the same thing. That hangovers are hangovers, man. But but when you're, I mean, when you got responsibilities, when you want to be the guy, that's kind of like uncalled for, and especially when you're a high profile player like you are, like Rashford. So it wasn't a good look. I think somehow like they ended up fixing it. The Ten Hag, his agent, and Rashford all met up, kind of like water under the bridge. But still, man, like come on, like if you want to be the guy, you got to show some more professionalism, at least when you're gonna play.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, he didn't at least he didn't do the Ronaldinho treatment. You know, there was the story that's circulating around where Ronaldinho showed up to practice and he had just came straight from the club, and Allegri was like, "We got to get this dude out of here. We got to get this man out of here."
I did actually. You're right. I did see that, and I thought reminded me of the Goal movie where like Gavin Harris is drunk and like he gets a cab and he runs into Santiago, and Santiago is like leaving to go to Mexico. I don't know if you guys remember that part,
Mhm.
but it's the same thing. He was out clubbing and he just like goes straight into the training ground, and somehow he saves this young Mexican kid's dream of continuing to play for Newcastle. But hey, man, it's okay to have fun. You just got to be responsible and hold
Yeah.
yourself accountable.
Mhm.
Um, anyways, those are our Tarjeta Rojas segments, or those are our Tarjeta Rojas of the week. Um, and we can now move on to our one headline for this week. And over the weekend, we heard the news of two coaches leaving, and I believe they are both in two different spectrums of like what it is to be a coach. Jurgen Klopp announced that he would be leaving Liverpool at the end of the season, and across in Spain, Xavi announced after losing 5-3 to Villarreal that he would be leaving. He would be stepping aside from Barcelona at the end of the season. So to you guys, I mean, the question that we have with headline for this, it's like, what will their tenures as coaches be remembered for? And do either one of them have a future? I think we know the answer to, but what can you expect about these two coaches that are now departing their current clubs?
Mhm.
Mm.
You want to take it, Edie? You want me to go?
Yeah, I can start. I mean, I feel like for Jurgen, you're right. They're both on different ends of the spectrum. I think for Jurgen Klopp, he's leaving as a legend for Liverpool. He gave him a Champions League title. He won him a Premier League. Um, he's basically what Liverpool needed, I think, when he got there to like elevate their game. I mean, just look at the players that he was able to get and the players he called for. Like you have Salah, you have Mane, you have players like Roberto Firmino, who was still there, and he was able to elevate him. He signed Van Dijk, arguably one of the best defenders in recent times. So I think Jurgen Klopp is just leaving as a legend for Liverpool. He cemented his legacy there. It is definitely sad to see for Liverpool fans for him to leave. I mean, it came unexpected. You know, I think we all woke up to the news, or at least I woke up to the news like, oh, he's leaving. Like, it's definitely something I didn't see coming, and I don't think other people saw coming. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see where Liverpool goes from here. They have the players still, in my opinion. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're still top of the group or top of the league. Sorry, and so it'll just be interesting to see where they go from here. And as in terms of Jurgen Klopp, I definitely think he has a future. I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't. Maybe not recent, because I know one of the reasons he said he just wants to take some personal time off, right? Um, but maybe I could see him coaching at Germany, right? They haven't been great over these past couple years. Um, I mean, if Barca can afford it, I'm sure they'd love to have him. uh, and then that's a good segue into Xavi. I think it's unfortunate, really, because I recall if you go to our social media, go on Instagram. TikTok, one of our reels was about Barcelona when they won the title last year, and at Strictly Football 21 you can see it. But I'm pretty sure Ariel said that that championship was going to elevate Xavi to the next level and to the next, like, being an elite coach. And yeah, it just hasn't turned out to be so well for him. But in my opinion, I still think he had Barcelona playing well. I just don't think it's his fault. I feel like Barcelona is just not in a good state right now, and they're just in a bad place money wise. They don't have an identity anymore. Like, they're just not the same Barcelona of old, I think. And he just became like the scapegoat, I guess, in my opinion.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I mean, I can go now. I mean, it's interesting to think about the two spectrums. I mean, I think like one obviously is a more seasoned coach in Klopp, and then one is a more young coach, right, in Xavi, and they're going through different tribulations, really, about how they go, and so then their departures, I think, have different reactions. You know, I remember when I saw Klopp's thing, I also too was like, oh man, this is kind of it's kind of sad. Even in the way the video was portrayed, it's just it just felt really sentimental. And I know that Klopp has a thing where he just kind of stays at clubs for 7 years. That's kind of been his thing. And I want to say at Liverpool he stayed for 8. So on that end, I think Klopp leaves behind this sense of relevance for Liverpool. I think before Klopp got there, Liverpool were not as relevant before he got there, and then once he got there, there was this elevation of status, you know. Because I mean, we can say that they brought in Salah and Van Dijk and all this stuff, but they didn't know who those players were going to become, and that's the difference I think with Klopp. Is Klopp was able to develop these players into superstars, into stars of the game that were like, man, these are like top level players, and that all happened under him. You know what I'm saying? Like he elevated not only the team and status, but also the players. You know, the players seem to really gravitate towards him. There's always like this thing about like, oh, Klopp like hugs his players, and there's like this camaraderie that he creates, and so I think he leaves with this sense of unity with the team, and becoming like this identity for Liverpool. And it's going to be interesting to see what Liverpool's identity is after him, because and I think that is one of the things that I'm interested in to see is what occurs after a coach like that leaves. Because I have one example, which is Manchester United, where you have a coach like that that can understand players, gets players, develops players, and then he leaves in Sir Alex Ferguson, and then there's this big rupture. And I'm wondering if that's going to be the same for Liverpool. Is that going to be the destiny for Liverpool? And I don't know, because I don't know who can run Liverpool for the last 8 years. I think he was there for 8 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
For
Yeah,
the
I
last
believe.
8 years, you know, we're so used to seeing Klopp there, and one of the things that I think his legacy, while he's going to be a legend in his own right, what I think he's going to be remembered for is that he competed with arguably one of the most like juiced up Premier League teams in Manchester City, and he was able to keep up with that team, and he beat them one time. You know what I'm saying? He beat them, and he won a Champions League, even though it's arguably the worst Champions League final we've ever seen. He won one. You know what I'm saying, for Liverpool, with Liverpool. So I think he leaves. I think accomplished. I think someone that deserves a break, and I am interested to see if he does take the Germany job, which I think he should take the Germany job, that I think Germany is going to become a much, much, much better team than they are right now. Because again, he's developing players, and he didn't bring in these players knowing that they're stars. And that's one thing that I've always appreciated about him, is that he doesn't really bring stars to the teams. He brings kind of these low budget players, and he kind of elevates them. So he's a developer. So I appreciate that about him. So I don't know. I'm excited to see what he does, and it's also sad to see, because now it feels like Man City's gonna kind of have just straight shot, you know, to win the league now. So on that end. And then for Xavi, for me, I feel bad for Xavi, and I think that I don't know if this is on purpose that Barcelona has kind of put him in a spot, but I think his legacy there is gonna be this. this sad part about Barcelona's downfall in the way that they're handling the club, because you have a club legend like Xavi come back and he brings back that identity that they so desperately needed after Quique Setién and fucking Coleman and these managers that, while there may be good coaches, they didn't have the identity that Barcelona had that we're used to, especially within the last couple of years. And then Xavi kind of brings it back and is expecting the players to play tiki taka and stuff. And football has kind of changed from then, right? From tiki taka. So there's that aspect of it. But Xavi comes in and he gives them an identity and they win the league. And I think what his legacy is gonna be is the hyper, like, there's this hyper like, I don't want to say correcting, but like a hyper, like I don't know, like attack on Spanish in Spanish media. I think one of the reasons that he's leaving is because of the Spanish media. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like he's at the bottom of the table. Sure, he lost against Valencia, whatever. We should be celebrating that a team like that beat them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that there is some sort of competition there. That there is, like, they can't just run through it. But Spain, it's such in a bad place in regards to football, in the way that racism is taking over, and the way that they're treating their coaches. And I think Xavi is one of the victims of that. I think he is at the core and at the spotlight of one of the big teams in Spain. And the Spanish media were relentless, against him in regards to the way that they portrayed him. And I think you really saw that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see him and I'm like, he's one of my favorite players, but my boy looks stressed out. You know what I'm saying? Like, he looks stressed out, and like, I don't think that any coach should feel under that much scrutiny for whatever reason, because the thing that speaks to me is that players have come out and said, and are coming out and defending him. So it almost feels like the players don't want him to leave, and I don't know if y'all have seen that as well, but I've seen players have come out and said, like, Xavi's, great, and there's some people crying about that. And so it's sentimental in two different ways. You know what I'm saying? One is an established legacy, and one is like, we can see what we can do, but we're not really being allowed to actually have the patience to develop that. And I think Xavi is becoming a victim of that. And I hope Xavi does well. I think he's gonna be, me personally, I still stand by that. I think he can still be an elite coach, because if you saw him play and you saw in the way that he got this team to the way that he was, um, it's much different to where it was.
Man, it's powerful, man. I felt that, man. I almost wanted to get on Xavi's side again, dude. But I'm but I'm not. I'm not. uh, but no, I feel like you brought up I had completely forgotten that Klopp won a Champions League with Liverpool, dude. Shit,
Yeah,
that shit blew past me, man.
we forget because Man City has
Yeah.
dominated for such a long this last, like, 10 years. It feels like Man City has dominated, and Klopp is the one coach that has been able to fight back against Pep, and now it's like, what the fuck's gonna happen in the Premier League?
That's I know, and I think Pep. They interviewed Pep, and he said, "What is Klopp to you?" And he's like, "He's my greatest rival."
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. You could see that. Um, but yeah, I think with Klopp, it's like he is a player coach,
Yeah.
and I mean, the psychology nowadays with football players has changed so much that it's like now, like, you need a player coach, right? You need somebody that can, like, it's not just about talent, it's not just about what you can do on the field, but like what you can also do outside the field. And I think Globe is the perfect example of a guy that can be your coach when it comes to 90 minutes, and outside in the training ground or in your personal life, he can be your friend, right? He can be your friend, he can be a mentor, he can be somebody you look up to. And I think you get that feeling from all these players that you name or that we talked about that have come up under Liverpool with him. And it speaks highly of a player of a coach like Globe. You know that you can, in today's football, you can be able to do that, and you can be able to get people to, like, be behind your idea and what it means to play, or like play your way kind of thing. So So I do, I didn't, and even before this, like I've always been a big fan of Klopp, even when he was at Dortmund. And at Dortmund, he went toe to toe with Bayern Munich too.
Hmm.
So it's like he's always been that guy. He's always, I wouldn't say he's been the underdog coach, but he's always been that guy that would not back down from a fight or would not back down from the challenge to compete and be that other option. When it comes to like the big clubs or like the competition between the leagues. Um, so it is interesting that he is leaving, and what the future holds for Liverpool. For sure, I think we've already seen that there's some of his players or the players that he ended up fostering or like mentoring and seasoned, like they are also like almost out of contract. So it'll be interesting to see like if that core that he built stays, or if like Liverpool just kind of hits the reset button, and just kind of starts all over. I know that the example with like when Alex Ferguson left, like that Man U team just has not been the same ever since.
Hmm.
Um, it could be the case with Liverpool that they won't be the same team again, and it might take years for them to like again get it together. But I think there's news, and the fact that right now, Liverpool, I mean, they just beat Chelsea 4-1. Um, he This is like the perfect. It's setting up the perfect setting or the perfect agenda for Klopp to walk out, held high and like literally be cemented as one of Liverpool's greats. And on the other hand, with Xavi, I think being scapegoated, I can see that to an extent. Um, it's just a bad time to be a Barcelona coach, and whoever takes over that role, it's just he's just gonna fall where Xavi is. Right? It's not like he's gonna have a better team to play with. He's not gonna have money to get players. I was reading that Xavi was he wanted players. At the start of this season, he went to La Porta and then, hey, can you get me a player that plays like this? Can something that falls in line with his philosophy? And La Porta was like, yo, like, dog, we don't have money. Like, all we can get you is a loan Cancelo, a loan Joao Felix. If you want, if you can turn those players around to play like you want to play, they're yours. But other than that, we can't buy players. And it just kind of like it may maybe I'm not seeing it right now, and I'm not seeing it clearly. But I think in the long run, if Xavi does end up going to a different team and he's successful or he does good, it may just be a thing of like a right coach, wrong time scenario for Xavi. Or like he just ended up coming back. He ended up coming back because he wanted to save his team. He felt the colors, he felt the DNA. But he just came back in the wrong time. In a time when like Barcelona is not doing good. Who knows if they're gonna like pick it up? The players like there's players that do defend him that do believe in that mentality, and I feel like there's other players that just can't play like that. Just can't play tiki taka. Just can't be, you know, can't meet up to the expectations that a coach like Xavi would have.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I feel like in the long run, not right now, but in the long run, I feel like it's gonna come down to like he was the right coach for the job. He was just stuck with bad luck in the wrong time, and unlike with Klopp, where like I forgot that he won a Champions League, and that was just like I was like, well, with Xavi, like we're just gonna forget that he actually did win La Liga, and we'll look back and we'll just like put him in like the same position of like a Ronald, a Koeman or a Quique Setien or like the guy that or Valverde kind of thing. And he might just fall into the cracks, and it is a shame on that because I think as a player, Xavi gave Barca the best years of his life, and it sucks that he couldn't replicate it on the coaching side.
Hmm.
Um, but Irving, would you like to add something else? I know we had you short. Um,
No, I mean, no, I don't have anything to add. If
so
if if it doesn't work out for Club, Pumas is always hiring.
There you go.
Jeez.
Xavi's next. You heard it here first. Xavi and
Yeah,
Klopp are gonna go to the Liga MX.
they're in talks now.
Yeah.
I mean,
I do wonder where Xavi will go next. I don't know if y'all have any predictions of where would be a good fit for Xavi, because I still think there's a really good coach in there, me personally. But this might be because I'm biased. I can really resonate with Xavi. I mean, I can really resonate with him in some aspects.
so I mean, one of the questions I think when that I asked myself when we were kind of drafting for this week, and I think, I mean, for Xavi, he was really just in one team his whole life. But it's like, what's the likelihood of Xavi becoming another story of a great player on the field turn
Hmm.
into a bad coach in his post football career? Because we've seen a lot of those now,
Yeah,
and
especially from our era, dude. Right
yeah,
there, we're
exactly.
we're, we're busting out horrible coaches.
Like I could
Rooney, the goat.
Rooney,
Rooney,
Henri,
Henry,
Vieira. I mean, Vieira's kind
Vieira,
of he's picking it up right now, but like Vieira wasn't all that great. Um,
Cliver, Cliver,
yeah,
Patrick
Cliver.
Cliver.
like
Hmm.
so, it's like where I mean, and it may just be like he didn't have enough time, but where is he? Like, is he borderline like maybe that guy, or can he like be the one guy that like the outcast that doesn't turn into those other names that we mentioned?
I mean, it's also a different time though, right? Because it's like those coaches that we're talking about, like we grew up, at least I'll speak for myself. I grew up watching Henry, Vieira, Xavi Alonso now. Like I grew up watching them, so I have a connection to them. So I will follow them in where they go, right? I can understand, I can see that like where they are. But when I think about really good coaches, like I'm thinking about Klopp, I'm thinking about Guardiola. Guardiola wasn't like when I think about his football career, like it's not like this crazy ass thing, right? Like it's not like he was this animal out there. Like, I mean, I'm sure he was hella good, but like, and even Arteta, I would say I would even throw that in there. Like, it's not like they were standout players, but these players that we're talking about now that are becoming coaches, it's like like Rooney, like we knew what they did and what they were and what they did. So there's almost like this expectation. So on that end, I'm like, it's also a different era of coaching, if that makes any sense. Like I was just watching a reel earlier today where it was like it was showing like players like like the coaches that are now coaches as players, and like Allegri was in there, and I'm like, I didn't even know Allegri played. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't even know he was a professional player. So you know what I'm saying? Like, or even Unai Emery, I'm like, he played professionally. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, but I just know him as a good coach. The difference is now is like I know that these players are really good, and I don't know if they're gonna be good coaches. And it may be one of those things where maybe they'll be really good coaches in like 15 years.
True.
Mhm.
So we are starting to see like a lot more younger coaches too. So
Yeah.
there's more room for longevity and chances to pick to get on the ship. Unless you're Wayne Rooney, then that's a whole different.
I think my boy needs to call it quits and just call it a
Yeah,
day.
that's a sad story, really.
um, but anyways, all right, we'll transition away from this. And I believe Irving has a segment for us that we're gonna be talking about. So I'm gonna hand it over to him and have him explain to us what we're doing this week.
And one thing too, Sam does say in the chat that De Rossi looks like he might be a good coach. Just throwing that out there.
Hmm.
Maybe.
Oh, speaking of De Rossi, man, Gattuso wasn't that much of a great coach either,
He
dog.
fucking sucked. I mean, he was fucking
Yeah.
he's fucking being racist towards his own players. That's my guy, but come on, man. What are
Yeah,
we
it's like,
doing?
sheesh, man. The list goes on.
The list
Yeah.
goes on. You're right. It's gonna be like this no-name player from our era that's gonna be like this amazing coach. Go ahead,
uh,
Irving. Sorry.
All right. No, you're good. All right. So we have a new segment. It's a very short segment, but I think it just bring out a good talk, a good, I don't know, like topic. So it's just a question of the day. Every now and again, maybe every podcast will have a question of the day. It could be random. It could be related to our topics. It could be related to anything. It's just a question of the day. Doesn't is it? It isn't a debate. It's just personal preference, personal choice, whatever. So our question or my question for you guys today is, who is your favorite player of all time? Now, it doesn't mean who's the best player of all time. So, it could be Messi or Ronaldo, but it doesn't mean best player, right? It could be some random. So, who is your favorite player of all time? And the reason I ask this is because, I think over the week, one of the big headlines here in North America is the return of Chicharito to Chivas. Um, really big news, at least coming out of Mexico. And that's a homegrown talent for Chivas. A lot of Chivas fans' favorite player, especially I'm sure growing up for those fans. So yeah, who's your favorite player of all time? So whoever wants to go, you have it. Don't have
I mean, I think the answer is pretty simple for me, and it's always going to be this guy, and I'll die on the cliff arguing that he's the greatest of all time. I'll fight anybody. Just form a line, one by one, man. Let me take you on. But Cristiano Ronaldo, man, that's the greatest. That's my favorite player, and I was. I mean, now that you bring up the question you just brought up over the weekend, I got really sad because I was watching. Actually, no, I take that back. I got dogged by the Cristiano Ronaldo Team of the Year card, um, and I realized that in my lifetime, and I've been a Ronaldo fan since like 2005. I aged myself there, but I've only gotten to see Ronaldo play once,
Hmm.
and that was in San Francisco at the Candlestick against America in a 3-2 game. My other favorite team, where Ronaldo scored the winning free kick, and that's all I hold. And it's like every time like I think about it, like that, I hold that memory like close to me because that's the only time I've gotten to see Ronaldo play live. But that's my guy. That's my
Your
pick.
guy. Dude, I talking about coaches though. I have a feeling my guy is gonna want to become a coach, and he's gonna do horrible. I'm just gonna just throw that out there. That's my guy too, but uh, I could definitely see him like wanting to be a coach and it not going well.
Sheesh.
Yeah. Because he's one of those players that like it should just kind of he's just like just work hard, and it's just like sometimes you need more than that. I mean, he happened to work really hard, but in the chat we're seeing Riquelme, from Pupusa Papi, but Ronaldo. Okay. I would say for me it's gonna be my favorite player is Kaká. I mean, I have my email from fucking ages ago. It's still Kakai 11 AC Milan. Still use that, baby. I had two of those dogs, Hotmail and Yahoo. That was my guy. The long sleeve, tucked in shirt, black boots, black shoes, and he was ready to go. But in AC Milan, that AC Milan team was like my favorite team. I used to have like a FIFA 05, good memories. But Kaká, one of the things that I really appreciated about Kaká was like I was never really like a player that was like when I used to play back in the day. Um, I really kind of I had like a interesting relationship with football because it felt like I didn't really like I was forced to play really young, like I started playing at 4. So by the time I was like 14, 13, I started really disliking football. And Kaká was this player to me that was it's not that he wasn't competitive because I'm sure that he was, but one of the things that always stood out to me was that if a player was down or if he potentially hurt somebody, like he would go and he would make sure that they're okay. And that always like resonated with me because when I played, I feel like I always got told like, no, pegale duro, like fucking entrale duro, let them know that you're there and blah, 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 blah. And I just wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I was not a player that I'm not trying to hurt you. Like I know I'm not going to win the World Cup. That's not to say that I'm not competitive, but it's competitive in other ways. Like I don't need to play dirty to do that. And it was always really interesting because that AC Milan team had Gattuso, right, which is arguably notoriously one of the dirtiest players ever to play. So I'm sure that helped too, right, to have like kind of Ambrosini and Gattuso, these kind of dogs in there with them. But Kaká, like he he wasn't super flashy, but when he got in that stride and he got to that like point where he was just like at the top of the world, like I was just like, man, I want to be like this dude. Like I never wanted to wear Adidas shoes, but I did want to emulate him because that's the position I played too. I played cam, and he always like kind of put a template out there for me, and he was always like a player that like he could pass, and then he also could score goals. So I that to me was like the person that I looked up to growing up, and I still look up to him. I still think he's a great person, and he seems to to want to keep a really. I think he would also be a great coach. I personally think he would be a great coach, but he hasn't made that turn yet. I'm wondering when he would make that turn. But hey, if Brazil needs a new coach, maybe it's him.
Hmm. Well,
Uh, well, thank you guys for sharing that. Um, and just for me, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could say Cristiano Ronaldo the same way. I mean, I think a lot of people wanted to be Ronaldo. A lot of people wanted to wear the shoes. A lot of people wanted to wear the seven. I'd argue he made the seven popular. And everybody wanted to wear seven, and but I honestly I don't know if I have like a favorite player apart from him. I mean, I'm only gonna turn 21 this year, so I'm not in that era where Kaká played, Ronaldinho played, Eto'o, Rooney, all these legends that we know now. I mean, I could give you a list of Pumas players, but then we'd be here every day, and um, I don't think anybody would know about them. So, um, yeah, I think if I had to say one, it's probably like Gio dos Santos. I think. I mean, I think I remember as a kid having that shirt. Like he was wearing 17 with the black and gold shirt. Um, yeah, I don't know. I just liked how he played. I thought he was cool. It's a weird thing to say, but I could resonate him because he was brown and I was brown, and it was interesting to say. It's just good to see a brown player like succeeding, right? He was a good player, and it's sad to see his career dwindle down. Really after Villarreal, I would say, and he's never been the same player ever since. And I mean, yeah, but I just thought he was really a really cool player, a really flashy player. Who can forget the goal he scored against USA in the Gold Cup? And yeah, but apart from that, yeah, just a bunch of Pumas players I really like that I really enjoyed watching. Growing up with my dad, watching the games on Sunday at 10 in the morning. So yeah, and I still have yet to see in my teen adulthood Pumas win a title. So that's also kind of crazy.
jeez, man, this guy's just got me sad, dude.
Yeah,
Oh man,
that's
this
the sad
guy. I mean, this guy
reality
can
of.
name all these Puma players, and I'm like, I have never heard of these people ever in my life.
But I think that just comes to show like when I was growing up, I think my dad always like had the games on Sundays, and of course I'd watch them. And I mean, I was a Pumas fan thanks to him. So it's just like I know a lot of these players. I remember a lot of these players. Like I can literally bring you the most random name and be like, this guy played like 5 games for us, and he scored 1 goal, and he sucked because he was always injured or something. But yeah, I just always resonate myself with Pumas. I think, especially because that's most of the soccer I watched all the time, so, and still watch to this day.
Like, damn, dude, it must suck to be a Pumas fan because of your dad.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
oh wait,
crazy.
your dad's my dad, huh? What a coincidence.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
uh, but I mean, I feel like the one thing, and I'll just keep it short. So the one thing that I think you bring up, Irving, and it's like you are aging us the more you talk throughout this throughout this episode. But you do bring up a thing, and you might be right. Where it's like I feel like the generation today isn't really growing with like a hero or with like a guy. They're just like I don't think one guy has like truly stand out. Like, and it's like I don't feel like it was like that back then. Like I feel like like the Kakas, like you wanted to be Kaká. You wanted to wear the Addy Peters. You wanted to be Ronaldo. You wanted to wear the Vapors. But yeah, I just feel like there's Mbappe, there's Haaland. Bellingham's kind of making a name right now. But yeah, I feel like if you asked if we went around and we asked like people like our age like who's their favorite player, I feel like they may just have a connection like right away. And it's like, and if you ask like a younger guy or like a younger person, they might just kind of like glitch because they don't know like who to name kind of thing. But it might just
You
be
might
where.
you might be underestimating Mbappe though.
No, I mean
Because
no.
I have a 10-year-old that I'm like I have in my mind right now, and all he thinks about is Neymar and Mbappe, and he's like, those are my guys.
I forgot about Neymar in there too. You're right. But I feel like it. It could be. It might just be one of those like experiments where like asking an older generation who their favorite player is, how long it takes for them to like you know throw a name out, and asking like a younger generation and see like what where we compare. Um, but anyways, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to our another new segment that we have for this season, and it's just we'll call this an open-ended discussion. We'll call this a debate. Um, who knows how feisty we might get throughout the season, depending on the question. Who knows if we'll end up, just all agreeing or all having a different opinion. But for the debate to start off this week, and because we're on this coaching train, the debate for this week, the question for all of us this week is to you guys, to the people watching, to anyone, who is the greatest coach of all time? That's a very open-ended question, guys. But I think we could all chip away, and I think if we're asking who the greatest coach of all time is, I think we can also ask as a sub question, what makes him the greatest coach, or what makes a coach a good coach? Is it accolades, titles, or is it just the fact that we grew up watching this person and he's now doing okay in his like afterlife from
Afterlife.
I
Afterlife,
mean
Jesus.
they're fucking dead or what?
the post the afterlife and hanging on the cleats. So I'll open the discussion for you guys to just kind of go at it and give me a name and or tell me why. Oh, sheesh, Carlos de los God damn. On that note, but no, guys, feel free to jump in and take the mic away from me.
So when I think about this question, I mean, I think it's really easy to go into accolades and how many trophies they won, and I'm sure we can name Pep and all this other shit. But when I think about greatest coach, I'm thinking about coaches that revolutionized the sport, made the game change, and made the game. Uh, and then on top of that, they then created a branch out of that coaching style. So for me, the greatest coach of all time for me is a local Bielsa.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I
I mean, I've mentioned the man before, but come on, man. I remember looking at this Athletic Bilbao team, and I'm like, dude, how is he making fucking this Spanish team under Herrera? Fucking what the fuck's those center back he was a center defensive mid at that Javi Martinez. That was my
jeez,
guy. El fucking Leon Llorente, like he and he's still true to his style. That's one of the things that I love about Bielsa, and they call him loco for a reason because he's all guns out, blazing all the time. Leeds was like all attack, no defense, but it changed it to me. I think he changed, and I think he changed the thought of where players should be, how it should be played, and Pep Guardiola talks about it all the time as his mentor. Um, Other coaches have learned from Loco Bielsa. So when I think about the greatest coach, is how do they pass that stuff down? and that's one thing that I haven't seen, and maybe this is because I'm kind of young in this regard, right? In regards to having enough time to see coaches develop. What is their effect? Like, will Pep Guardiola lead the next? And maybe Arteta is like the next like iteration of Guardiola, but like I'm thinking about like even Jose Mourinho. I love Jose Mourinho, and not necessarily because of the way he plays or the way he has his teams play, but I just love the way that he is with his teams. Like he's all about like you're gonna fucking die on this pitch for me, and I think Loco Bielsa has a sense of that. But what I think is different about Loco Bielsa is that he may not have the accolades, but he's able to affect other coaches in the way that they think. So to me, that's the greatest coach.
I mean, I was not expecting that answer. Man, can I say Hugo Sanchez? Is Hugo Sanchez a good coach?
That is another guy turned coach. That
Hey, okay, beside apart from the joke, he's probably arguably one of the best coaches to ever coach Pumas. He was the first coach ever to win back-to-back titles in Liga MX. He beat Real Madrid in el Santiago Bernabeu. He won the Champions Cup that year. I mean, yeah, he's arguably one of the greatest coaches for Pumas. Anyways, to me, I mean, in recent times, for me, I think I'd say to me it's a toss-up between Alex Ferguson and Carlo Ancelotti. To me, because but I'm more leaning to Carlo Ancelotti just because I've seen him. I remember him ever since he came to Real Madrid the first time he was there. Um, I just think he's a great coach. I mean, he's won Champions League with Real Madrid. He just coached a really good Real Madrid team again, which maybe is something not good. Um, he's won leagues with them, Champions Leagues, and I think the thing that to me why he's one of the greatest coach and is just the fact that he went to Everton and made that team a top 6 team in the Premier League while he was there, which is just crazy. I mean, Everton has not been relevant in like over like I don't know, maybe since Lukaku left, maybe before that. The last time they've been, I can't remember the last time they've been to Europe. As long as I've been a fan, they've never been to any European competition. And as long as I've known them, they've just been a mid-table team. And I still really enjoy watching them play, and I still would say I'm a fan. But the fact that someone like Carlo Ancelotti, who has won Champions Leagues upon Champions Leagues, won leagues in every single country he's coached, he went to a mid-table team and turned that team around. He signed his marquee signing was like a 33-year-old James Rodriguez, and he turned him back to like the 2014 uh, World Cup James Rodriguez. And that team was firing in all cylinders. And sadly, I feel like it just Everton just wasn't paying him enough. To be honest, it's just I don't know how that happened. I don't know how a team like Everton ended up with someone like Carlo Ancelotti. But I mean, I know in recent news, like I think it was like last year, it came out that Ancelotti was suing Everton because they didn't pay him in full. They only paid him half. So I mean, I think that tells one part of it and why he left to go back to Real Madrid. And I mean, now with Real Madrid, he's been their marquee coach ever since Zidane left, and he's done well. I mean, I know last year's was it last year? The year before last year. So when Real Madrid won the Champions League, when they went on that crazy run, when they beat teams like Manchester City, PSG, like a lot of it people talk about is luck, but to have a guy like Ancelotti on your bench as your coach, still motivating you and just like I'm sure it's just his telling his players like it's not over, like building that energy in that locker room. I think is just it's something you can't really like teach. It's something he has. He's able to lift his team up, and over the past years, now that Ancelotti's been the coach, you see all the comebacks Real Madrid has. All the great comebacks that have happened over the past couple of years for Real Madrid. And I mean, now he's coaching a team, not the best Real Madrid team in recent times, but he still has a great team. And to me, I just enjoy watching his football, and It's still crazy to me that he was at Everton for like 6 months. So
Oh man. Well, should have paid him. He probably would have stayed longer. Um,
yeah,
but I feel like I would have to. I would have to second you if I had to choose a coach, or if I, who's the greatest coach of all time, the greatest coach I've seen. I would have to argue that it would be Carleto as well. And then I think this was just kind of like tying it up to what we were talking about earlier about Klopp. Carleto is also another player coach. It's another coach that the players want. And it's like sometimes it happens like the players want that coach because that player lets them do whatever they want and they can just like it leads to like indiscipline, it leads to like bad results and stuff. But I think with Carleto, like that aura that he holds, as a coach, wherever he's been, whether it's been Everton, Bayern, PSG, Chelsea, Real Madrid, like he's always had that aura that it's like, yeah, like you're he has like a boundary, like you can do what you want, but you know what, like you have to respect who you play for, you have to respect, the badge, and that just kind of speaks highly of a player who or of a coach like Carleto, who was also a really great player, I think, when he grew up, or like the from what we know when he played at Milan. So yeah, I think if it came down to it, like I would make a case, an argument that I would live with, that Carleto is the greatest coach that my eyes have seen. And maybe we are like thinking of that. I mean, I'm thinking accolades too, like being successful here and there. Um, he might not have that, like he might not have a school of coaches coming under him. Um, but he's his own style that I maybe in a way like it might just not be able to be replicated by anybody else because he's just unique in its own way, and you're just not going to be able to compare find a new Carleto down the road. So
So, so if I may, yeah, boo, yeah, thanks, dude. Well, both of you are an Ancelotti train. I mean, and I gotta say, I love Ancelotti because of the way that he coached that AC Milan team that I'm like, that's my favorite team of all time, that Kaká team. So I know that he played a pivotal role in that. But what's his style and what's his influence? Like when I think about a coach, like I'm thinking about influence, not just accolades. And yeah, you can get James Rodriguez, but I don't know. Like I'm thinking about like what's his style? Like when if you had to describe to a child or to a kid, like what is Ancelotti's style? I don't know. I don't know if I can have the words to describe that. And at least to me, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I know that I know I can tell a child Bielsa style and the coaches that have come under him and have become successful under him. I can't name one coach that's been successful under, and I'm sure that, I mean, I know that he's not in the business of coaching other coaches. I know that. But what is his influence? When I think about the greatest coach, I'm thinking about influence, not just personal achievement, but I'm thinking about what has he done for the sport? So I'm throwing it to y'all.
I feel like when you talk, I feel like to me it's more like I think now it's like it's a now that you bring up the Milan squad that he coached, it's a longevity issue too. Like his style might be that he's just versatile. He doesn't fall in love with just one style. Because if we go back to like the Chelsea team that he coached or the AC Milan, it's like that
Or
was
PSG.
or PSG in between, but it's like the AC Milan was a 4-4-2 that did not have fast players, and it was just like all guts, all like garra, and it's like we all for one kind of thing. And then now like the Madrid that he like has now with like a 4-3-3, like he can adapt, I think, his play style just to match the players that he has. Like shit, today in the morning, like who has more goals than Lewandowski this season? Jose Lu, man. And you know who's making Jose Lu a star right now?
No, don't say he doesn't.
Carleto!
He doesn't make
Carleto!
stars. That's the thing, though. He doesn't make stars. What are we talking about?
Carleto!
What are you talking about? What star
But
has he
no,
made? I mean, I think that's the thing. He hasn't made any stars. He's come into teams that already have stars.
Yes, but I feel like are we
But
just
but then can't you argue that he's a coach that works well with stars in the locker room,
yeah, he's a coach that
right? Like
can
he came
control.
to a Real Madrid that had Ronaldo, had Benzema, had Bale, he had Cruz, he had I mean an insane team really. And he we all know the hard-headed mind that Ronaldo is, and he just came in and he did his thing. He coached Ronaldo. I'm sure Ronaldo can speak, if you're ever hearing this, Ronaldo. But he just can coach under these circumstances. I think he coached under every single circumstance possible. Look at that AC Milan team he coached. It was just full of stars. It's a great team now that we look back at it, and we know and we've seen time and time again that there's coaches that don't work well under that, kind of like having that ego in the locker room, having those personalities in the locker room. Look at the Chelsea team he coached. There's definitely big egos you can point out there. And he won the title. He won the league with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I can see that. I mean, I can see that he can work well with players, and I think that that's also a skill. I think that that's a skill that not every coach has, and I think he sees them. I think to me, but I just think when I think about the greatest coach of all time, I maybe this is just my own perception, and I think it is I'm thinking about the influence far beyond that. Cool, you can get along with players, and because I'm even thinking about if Klopp is not like careful, he could also fall under that same like thing too, where players just really love him and but then again, I don't know if Klopp's going to go down as one of the greatest coaches, and Ancelotti I know is going to go down as one of the greatest coaches, but I also think that he's also had high profile places to go to. So there's that part of it too, and maybe I just really like the underdog, and maybe that's why I'm going with Bielsa. But I don't know. But I also like Mourinho, which is like I think he also takes on different challenges, and I feel like Ancelotti is not that he doesn't take those challenges, but I feel like they're far in between. You know.
It's like I'll ride the train with Ancelotti. I'm just gonna like ride the versatile train and the longevity train, where the fact that he has through his eyes, just as a coach, he has seen the world of football change. And if there's a reason that the big clubs still want him now, or like that he just falls himself, mine is Everton, that he falls himself, still, at a PSG, at a Bayern, is because he's been able to adapt as a coach. Like he has not stopped learning. And I think like every, the more football goes, who knows how long, he'll be a coach, but he's been able to adapt and adjust to the modern day player, which I feel like it's something that we might be seeing it with Xavi right now, where it's like he has a tiki taka philosophy, but he doesn't. There's no more players, at least that he has, that can actually play the way he wants to play. And it's like in on vice versa, like it's like, well, there you have Ancelotti, just wanting, like, all right, now we play speed, okay, then let me throw him speed, and he's just been able to adapt to the football, and he's seen football change through his eyes. And I think longevity and titles kind of mean that, or like speak that he's been able to adjust to that. Because if he didn't, we wouldn't be talking about Ancelotti right now, or we wouldn't be talking about him just signing into another big club, and you'd probably be like, he'd probably still be coaching Everton for all I know. But
Yeah, maybe. There's also the other case too for AC Milan. I'm thinking about the AC Milan case too because I hear the longevity piece, but there's also the other part about the AC Milan team is that he also absorbed the Sachi team, and Sachi was an amazing coach before him. You know what I'm saying? Like a great coach. So he also absorbed that team. So he's getting he's receiving this core group of players. You know what I'm saying? That may not be the case with the Real Madrid team, but I would argue that Ancelotti is also playing at a time where football is also at a really bad spot. You know what I'm saying? Like the wingers are not where they used to be, and everybody's trying to be like Pep and trying to understand how Pep plays and the way the teams play, and of course Ancelotti is able to do it, but I don't know. To me, like I would argue that the football has also kind of gone down in regards to style and in the way that there's more unpredictability. It almost feels like too safe now. So I don't know. That's me. That's also my own thing. You know, maybe I'm not a big Ancelotti hater, but I'm also like thinking about in perspective. Ancelotti did overtake this Real Madrid team where I can't name a team that could really battle against this crazy ass team that he had.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh,
I
who,
mean,
do we add? I mean, Irving, do you have
I
something
mean,
else?
yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, like, okay, like they did, Ancelotti did come to a Real Madrid team that was insane and had Ronaldo at his prime, but I mean,
Bale at his prime.
he did just win a Champions League with no Ronaldo, no Bale, aging midfielders like Modric and Cruz, and I mean, I would say that you can even see like someone like Vinicius. Vinicius thriving under the Ancelotti system. He's becoming a star of the game. Whether I mean, is he one of the best players in the world? I think so. He's probably one of the best wingers in the world. Um, Look at Fede Valverde. Fede Valverde under Ancelotti has become one of the best midfielders in the world, one of the best attacking midfielders in the world. I mean, the fact that he's coaching a team that still has Carvajal as its right back and it's kind of working is kind of crazy to me. And he's now evolving a new generation with Chouameni and Camavinga and Enrique when he comes in, Rodrigo now that he's there, and I think Rodrigo's a really good player. Um, I just think it shows that no matter what team he gets, he can always just adapt to it and always just play his way, which I think is just having great midfielders. If you look at the midfielders he's had in each team, he's like to reinforce the midfield and like having that midfield to kind of pivot off of to have his attacking offense go. So that's just my opinion. I mean, yeah, and I don't know if I might be wrong, but was Zidane not Ancelotti's assistant the first time around in Ancelotti's?
Yep.
So and Zidane took over, and Zidane won 3 consecutive Champions League titles, and I mean, I'd argue he was a really good coach when he was there, and he hasn't coached since, so we don't know if he could do it somewhere else with a different team. Because again, that Real Madrid team was insane, but just something to think about.
Well, you know what? We'll leave this question for the chat, for the Instagram, for the TikTok. Who is the greatest coach of all time? What do you think qualifies somebody as the greatest coach, or what makes that person become a great coach? What separates, the Xavis from the Klopps, or you know, the Guardiolas from the Tetas, and so on. So we can leave this up to discussion. We can go on forever. But we should get wrapping up today. And jump into our final segment, which is as per usual, our quiniela. I think we really enjoyed this last week. I mean, last season, and bringing it back. I think we enjoyed the off the air discussions that we have and texting and on these games. So we're gonna keep it going. Sam, if you're listening, feel free to share out your picks. And we're just gonna get going right away to the first game we have, which is Everton versus Tottenham at Goodison Park. How are we feeling? Uh,
Tottenham.
Tottenham,
Hmm.
Irving.
Mm, yeah, Tottenham, sadly. Although they don't have Son, he's still playing in the Afcon, or not the Afcon, the Asian Cup. Sorry.
Sam, if you can hear, either Everton or Tottenham. Second game, it's a rematch of I think a game we've already seen a couple of times in the past 3 weeks. Real Madrid versus Atletico Madrid. This time the game's going to be played at the Bernabeu. Um, start from the bottom, Irving.
Real Madrid.
Real
Ariel.
Madrid.
And of course, the team ran by the greatest coach of all time, um, Real Madrid. All right, third game. We have a battle of giants at the Azteca Stadium. We have Club America versus a team now led by Brandon Vasquez, Monterrey. Ariel,
Remind me, Monterrey's playing against who?
America.
Oof. Uh, I'm gonna go with America.
Um, hold on. Let me see. Hmm. I'm gonna go Monterrey. Hey, they didn't look good against Necaxa.
Y pero era es entre semana. All right, so we get the fourth game of this week. It's Aceta Alkmaar versus Santiago Jimenez Feyenoord at Aceta Alkmaar's home stadium. It's like the Everett East is kind of heating up. So these are, I think, fourth and fifth and third place, I believe. Um, see somebody looking at their screen.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, see two people looking at their screen.
Mm,
Yeah.
so it's between who? Feyenoord and
Aceta Alkmaar. Yeah.
I won't go with Feyenoord.
We're doing the Sunday one, right? Because they're playing twice.
Yes, the one that's on February 3rd, I believe.
Fourth.
4th.
Uh, Feyenoord.
I'm gonna go with the tie for this week. Um, fifth game. I think this is probably the best game that we have for this week. It's Arsenal versus
Pumas Tigre. Oh.
what? Arsenal versus Liverpool at the Emirates Stadium. Arteta
Espero
versus
mal.
Klopp one last time. Who you got, Irving?
Oh, mate. Dang. Wait, where are they playing? Emirates. They just lost. I'm gonna go with Arsenal. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Arsenal.
Well, I'll go with Liverpool. Leave the hot hand on Ariel.
I'm going Arsenal.
Damn, guys. Arteta beats Klopp one last time.
That's right.
Yee.
Let them
I think
know.
so.
Let him know. Send him packing. Uh, for the sixth game of the week, it's going to be Inter Milan against Juventus. Another close battle for the Serie A Scudetto, first and second place. This is being played at San Siro.
Mm.
Ariel?
Say it again.
Inter Milan versus Juventus at the San Siro.
Mm. I'll go with Inter.
Irving?
This is a tie.
And I'll go with Inter. Lautaro's firing.
That's crazy. They only have 10 goals scored against them. That's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
um, seventh game, Tigres versus Pumas at Tigres' Estadio Universitario.
Ese sí es juego.
That's easy.
That's right,
That's
Tigres.
easy. Huh?
I'm guessing we're all going Tigres here.
I'm gonna go with
No.
Tigres. Yeah.
Irving?
I'm going Pumas. Es la revancha.
And for the final game, we have Ajax versus PSV at the Johan Cruyff Arena. It's funny because we had this game last season, around October, and around this time, Ajax was like second to last place,
Yeah.
and they've been able to pull it together, and at least they're not in the relegation zone anymore. So, what do you guys feel?
Uh,
PSP.
PSV.
All right, fuck Ajax, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're done.
Yeah.
Good for them, but no.
All right, PSV. PSV just because Chuki's there. It's my pick. Uh,
That's how you start losing,
Yeah.
man. That's
Yeah.
how you start losing right there.
well, we all went PSV, so it won't come down to this game. That's for sure. There'll be other games. I mean, I think
I
there's three
mean,
games. There's 3, 4 games in there that can make or break.
the Ajax is fifth place and PSV is first, but the point differential
It's
is
crazy.
crazy. Yeah,
Mm.
crazy.
Crazy.
Well, being fifth is better than not being 17th. Anyways, those are our Quiniela picks for the week. We'll check in with Sam offline, make sure we lock in his picks before the game start. Other than that, boys, do we have any final thoughts? Do we have anything else to say before we wrap it up for this week?
No,
No.
thank you
Um,
for listening.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
for listening.
listening. Continue
Let
to
us know who's your favorite player of all time. Let us know who's the greatest coach of all time, and let us know what you think about Xavi and Klopp leaving their respective clubs.
and I believe that the next time we'll see each other will be 2 weeks from now.
That's correct.
So till then, boys, we'll just wrap it up for today. It was nice seeing you guys again. It's nice being back with you guys, and here's to another great season of just talking about football.
That's right.